funk. Thoughts deep, boys steeped in the depths that he sunk. Big stress, depressed in the middle of fall. Sky gray, high late in the thick of it all. I wonder, how long can a human survive just staying alive or carrying the rest of the tribe? Waiting for the day to arrive or struggling dies, and I be doing way, way more than getting by. So why? Cop myself a cup of coffee, sip of water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Hey, cop myself a cup of coffee, sip of water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Realize life is so much more than just living a day. Every day I can sit and reflect and reconnect to myself and know that I've been given. See, giving up is not an option. So when I'm looking at gray skies, I'll be adopting a new way to deal with a test. Lord, relieve me of stress to bring me looking like we're blessings dropping. And so I got myself a cup of coffee, sip of water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Sip of water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Hey, here we go. Yeah. Let's do this. Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. In times of test, let no harm beset me, oh my Lord, oh my Lord.
We have to apologize, ladies and gentlemen. We had a little problem. Dave ran down to Kmart down the way over there, and unfortunately, that $8 microphone didn't work too well, but I think we're going to be okay now because he took his old microphone and he replaced it, and hopefully that microphone will work. So anyway, it's great to see everybody. It is July the 17th, Saturday night. And we're glad to see everybody, all 4 of you, or 5 of you, something like that. But we really do appreciate it. This is Divided We Stand. If you're new to the channel and you're watching this after the show has taken place, please make sure that you subscribe so that you can get some notifications. You can hit the bell, and next time you'll be alerted when we're on late again. We also have a Facebook group page, which is really the meat of what we have here, and we would also appreciate that you become a member of that group page. It's generally very successful, and we have a lot of communication between people all over the country, and there's a sense of camaraderie between us in these difficult times. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce the man of mirth and the man of seriousness at times too. He's really a man for all seasons, and that would be our David Price from Arlington, Virginia. Dave, how are you doing? Is your microphone all right?
The thing, Brian. I'm going to try to say this in words. I'm going to use a word that I don't like is, but I think it applies in this situation. Okay. The word is retard, Brian. You are like the worst I've ever seen doing this thing that is your. It's your show. All problems are yours, and you're so insecure. And I mean, are you this way? Like your relationships, you always have to. You remind me of seriously.
I'm just trying to say, that $8 microphone from
Brian, listen,
Kmart doesn't sound very
are you?
good.
I think I know what you're doing tonight. Well, tonight, maybe your whole life. You're doing a Trump invitation. You know, Donald Trump. It's never his fault. It's always somebody else's fault. Is that what you're doing?
That's
or
it.
Are you secretly? All right, I wasn't as Brian.
Don't go there.
You're gonna force me to do it.
You're gonna talk about
Hey,
Russia again, right?
everybody, listen. Like Brian said, I apologize for a number of things. I apologize for actually agreeing to do this with Brian. I apologize to subjecting you to Brian, and I'm pleased to announce that I'm getting real close to jettisoning. That's not even a fucking word. To jet the
Good enough for me. Easy for you to say.
Getting rid of Brian and doing the goddamn show myself. I mean, Brian, like you're okay. You're familiar with the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, right? By Samuel Coleridge.
No.
Good. Are you familiar? What is your middle name?
My middle name is Franklin, named after Franklin Roosevelt, because I was born on 15 years from the day he died, April 12th. In 60, he died on April the 12th.
Do you understand? You just announced that, FDR turned over in his grave. If you had worked with FDR during World War II, we'd be speaking German or Japanese right now. No question. I don't know what to say, bro. Except you're a good guy, but you're just a discipline. What can I say? What else?
I'll let our audience try to make that clarification. But you are, for some reason, you are sounding doubly interesting tonight, Dave. For some
because you don't know how to work the audio. Yeah, that's why. Everything. I'm man enough to say. If it were my fault, I would accept it. Obviously, you're not. So okay. We'll get there.
Well, in any case, Dave, just so everybody knows, we know there's at least what I hear from Dave's voice right now. There's a slight echo, and we don't know really. Truthfully speaking, we don't know what it is. We don't know what it is. It didn't happen last week. We'll have to try to iron it out at some other point, but we're going to try to get through this anyway. Okay, so it's just...
Listen, Brian. Let me say this about that. No, I'm just saying. If I do echo, people do hear me twice. Hearing me twice is 82 times better than hear once. So it's still a good show.
Okay. All right, let me pull up the comments here because they'll be able to help us.
Yeah, if you can, guys.
Osama,
we really
thanks. Osama, if you can, or
hey,
anybody.
Osama.
But Osama, if you can, are you on your end, and this is the audience, are you hearing any doubling of Dave's words? Because I can live with it in terms of it's only me hearing the doubling. But if you're hearing it, at least I know what's being heard. So
now notice what he didn't say, Pete. He said, "I'll know what's being heard, not I will fix it."
Well, look, I'm not going to try to fix it during the show. I mean, and believe me, you would give me hell if I did that too.
Well, I'm going to give you hell if you don't. What difference does it? Brian, what are you drinking?
Do you know exactly what's in here?
I don't know where. I want to know exactly what's in.
Okay,
that was
there
my
was
question.
Some Italian. I guess it was not seltzer water, but I guess it was mineral water plus a little bit of orange juice and plus
Italian.
Yes,
you got from Italy. I don't know what
Pellegrino. It's the carbonated.
I know.
water.
Okay, Pellegrino.
And
it's bottled in Moyne, but
and I have a little extra something else that I put in here today.
What?
Beaujolais or something. It's some kind of sweet cognac thing or something like that. I don't know. Not a cognac, but like it, that kind of thing.
Wait, what you're telling me is
Beauchamp. Beauchamp's the name. It's Beauchamp.
bullshit.
Bullshit.
Well, we know you're a bullshit.
What's the name of the
So
stuff?
what? So what you're telling the audience is the only way you can face them with your small failure as.
You mixed yourself a drink, but you didn't offer me one.
Oh, I didn't. Look, I was 2 minutes before the show. How can I do all that at once?
Listen, Brian. Listen,
No.
and Ronnie, if you can hear me. That's good. Is that all of? Is that both Anthony or just me?
Yeah, because I don't hear. If you don't hear it, Dave, and I don't hear my own, then we're doubling up all over the place.
Now there you are. That is a man of taste, of culture. Brian, I would prefer. I mean, we've done this show together for a long time, being friends. But I would prefer to do the show with Gary.
Oh, Gary wants to come on. Let's
No,
send him a link.
not come on. Like you, not come on. You know what?
Okay, all right. I'll do. That'll be interesting
tonight,
to
Anthony. We're kind of this little free form here to see if we can clean this problem. Actually,
are we both doing it? Are we both doing it? I hear myself clearly, but I hear Dave. Just you, Dave. So it is just you. So it is your fault, Dave.
No, Brian.
This show tonight will be dedicated simply to busting on Dave for that goddamn Kmart microphone he bought.
Well, Brian, I don't want to say anything, but I've seen your home. The microphone that I'm using is half as much as you spent your entire home. Anthony, I'm directing this to you. I'm getting a double. Not tonight on the show, but ask sometimes. He did a lot of work with Fuzzy Navel when he was in Russia.
He just wants to know about my past in Russia. That's a very esoteric thing that will be.
Let me try something for him, okay? Yes, I will try something. Hold on.
Yeah, try something. Fix it up.
Let me see if I can do this. I don't know.
Are you using a separate? How about your mic jack? Is the jack in completely correctly? Can you?
Brian, is it completely correctly? That's the thing that women have asked you for years. I'm more professional than that, Brian.
That's not working.
Let me see what. I haven't done anything yet, Brian. God.
Okay.
What?
These people watching, we're going nowhere here.
I don't care.
Okay. Dave really doesn't care about. By the way, folks, if you were wondering out there, if Dave's getting nervous around. Dave doesn't give a shit about this kind of stuff. He doesn't care at all. He'd be happy if
Brian, shut up, Brian. Is this any better? Ask people if this is any better.
I can hear you. It echoes like outer space.
Okay? That's worse, right?
Yeah. Can you change the setting at all for your mic to a different mic?
How
about the mic to your laptop instead of the mic itself that you're using? I mean, I don't know are you using a mic? Look, you have a USB mic and you have the mic that is within your laptop.
I switched to the one in my lap. I was using the Blue Yeti.
Yeti. From the Netherlands.
Yes. What happens is this. You're an ass, Ryan. I don't know what to say. All right. No, it's not changed. Right. That's interesting.
What's that?
That my I'm all kinds of weird stuff here. It's from your feed, I think. All right, let me try one more thing. Okay. Hey, Brian.
Yeah, just make sure you buy like a Mac in the next.
You hear me?
Yes, perfectly. Hold it. That sounded pretty good.
What did? This?
No, it's okay. I mean, I hear you fine. I'm just trying to wait for the echo. See if that comes up.
Is the echo there?
Yeah, it's still. It's like it's if. Hi, Kim. It's as if something's like cutting off real quickly and coming right back on.
What happens? It doesn't make any sense. Is doing that before. I'm not. We're ladies and gentlemen. We're doing how to hold a show tonight. But basically, so what happened is the problem I was having with your voice is now happening to me, but it's going out over the air.
Right.
I heard your voice.
Hey, you're not going to like this, but if you want me to tinker with stuff here, I'll do it.
No, I don't. I don't yet. I want to try one more thing on my end.
I can play around with this stuff here, You know,
All right.
I
Do
want to
you
just
hear
show
me now?
everybody. Yeah, I hear you're fine. You're fine. Okay, and while you're doing this talking,
But I shouldn't have been. I shouldn't have been, Brian. Now I'm doing my end.
I hear you fine.
All right. Let me check. You seem to know so much. I have the output on external headphones, which I have in my head. That is correct. Correct?
Yeah.
You're sure? Sure.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm saying it. Why don't you take the headphones? Well, no, you get the echo when you do that. There's no like we'll have a problem.
Now the input is the anti, and then here. Let me switch it to the. Let me try it this way. Is that any better?
Keep talking, or I won't know.
I am going to. Well, you don't know anyway because you can hear me on either one. I'm
I
asking.
hear like a pop, which means it sounds like it could be your actual microphone has a pop to it, but I don't know.
I switched. Dumb.
All right.
I'm switching mics left. Ask somebody. Here's how we're going to do a test. You don't have any on this. We're going to try two different microphones. You ready? So we're going to call this mic one. You do remember the difference. So I'm speaking now, audience, on mic one. Anthony or somebody out there who's listening, would you let Brian know I'm still popping or doubling, or is it clear? This is just like an eyeglass thing, Brian. Don't you do anything until you get a message, and then let me know. So I'm asking Anthony. I'm asking Osama. I'm asking anybody who's listening. Am I clear, or am I popping, or is it going like my name is Dave? What's happening? Did you get any message yet? Brian, did you get any message yet?
Just from Anthony here, it says for a second the echo stopped when Brian was on camera fully, but after that it went back to an echo.
So we still have it. All right.
Right, and I'm hearing the static still echoing. See here, look, I'm going to let you see what I'm doing here now.
I don't want to see what you're doing. I just switched mics.
Now look, we're using Ecamm Live Beta, and I'm tempted, if you see here, to put on the channel for Ecamm Live Beta and take off the Ecamm Live just to see how that works.
All right, let's see what happens.
All right.
You know, we blew the show anyway, so what difference does
Okay,
it
so
make?
here we go. All right, let me take that one off. Test. Okay, now I want you to say something.
Test. Is this any better, people?
No, it's not better. I can tell, Dave, just from my end here.
Okay.
And what does your system preferences say? I'll give you mine. I'll show you my system preferences.
Just tell me. I don't need to show me.
Well, I use my earbuds. You don't necessarily use earbuds. So.
The same things. Earbuds are the things.
Yeah, I know, but I have something called Loopback that I use.
Yeah, you have some called
Loopback.
Yeah, no, lube. You lube your back.
Okay, listen to you. Okay, look. This is not something that you would see. Let me see if I can get this. Everybody can see what I'm doing here. I have Ecamm, so I use Ecamm's live audio. I can switch it now, but I don't know if that's going to do anything. If I can go back to Loopback here, I could do that if you want me to try that. And then we'll see what happens.
I don't know. We're just playing now. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, now say something.
I'm saying something. I'm talking. Is it any better?
Okay.
So you're using
Okay,
Ecamm
say
Live.
something, Dave.
Say something. I'm saying.
Test.
You're
I can't
messing up on you, and you're terrible. You're in. All right. This for me. Do you have a Yeti, right?
I can't hear you, Dave.
Well, where'd I go? Oh, I didn't touch anything. So this is clearly fault.
Test. Try to turn the volume all the way down and see if the neck effect. All right, Dave. I want to start this again. So, hold on. I just heard you say that. It was good. I
haven't said anything, Brian. I haven't said anything. Gary Peacock gets the award for the show tonight. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Now you got that video thing going. There's all kinds of doing the video on my end.
All right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. Can you hear me without any type of delay?
There's no delay on your end. Is there a delay on my end?
There's a little bit of an echo. A little bit of an echo.
All right. Tell me if this helps the echo.
Try doing a single frame on days and see if that. I'll do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that
I
makes
did it
sense.
before. Go ahead. Okay, so go ahead. Start.
Okay, is it any better doing it this way?
Got to keep talking.
I did keep talking. I talk all the time. What I want to say is that
It's still doing it. It's not a lot. It's passable. Okay.
No, I want pro. Hold on a minute. Let me try something. One more thing. Can
I
you hear
can't-
me now?
Yeah. You got to keep talking. I won't know if it's.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me
Yes.
now?
Yes.
Hold on, Gary's phoning in.
All right, we'll have Gary on the show.
I will. I'll put him on. Listen, can you get me a new technician, Gary?
Can you hear me?
Gary.
Now I think I got that video thing going. So
He
What the
just
hell was
hung
that?
up.
Well, hold on. Did you hang up on him? What do you mean he hung up?
The phone just died.
Well, call him back.
No, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in you fixing. I'm interested in fixing. I'm interested in fixing what you fucked up. That's what really what I'm.
All right. Look, right now. There's nothing we can do. Okay, we're losing our audience here. All right. Let's just go on. Okay.
I'm fine with going on.
Okay, that's fine because it's not horrible. It's not great, but it's
As long as you admit your fault.
in a certain sense it is my fault.
Oh, that's it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So,
Let me
Dave,
make a suggestion. You ready?
Yeah.
We owe the people a good show. What are you doing tomorrow night?
tomorrow's Sunday night. I'm good tomorrow night. I think I'm good tomorrow night. Yeah.
Blitz it on that. We're gonna, because technical difficulties caused by URL problems and deficiencies. We will do a show tomorrow. Before we go on, can we just make sure we're okay? Because you change stuff all the time.
Well, I didn't. Like I said, I still think it's originating from your end. Okay, because I'm looking at all the levels. Everything's fine on my end. Everything's good with my mic. I see you're coming through. You're coming through. Now it may not be you, but I'm thinking.
No, I'll tell you why it's not me.
Can you hold up your laptop to everybody? Let me see if what's going on there.
I'm not going to do jack shit for you. What I'm going to do, just listen to the logic. Are you controlling the audio?
Technically,
Not technically, yes or no?
Ecamm is controlling it, not I.
Okay. Okay, Mr. I can't.
You are like the lawyer who's trying to lead it toward this guy here.
I'm
you
not.
know?
I'm doing it. I'm just saying.
I have no idea.
All right, let me start. Let
who's
me
at
start
fault.
another.
Okay,
one.
all I know is it doesn't work right.
Let me start another.
And here's
Okay.
Joey, technical problems. He's watching tonight.
Good, Joe.
And
Listen,
Joey, thanks for sending Michael row the boat ashore to me. I didn't want that. Okay, I don't like that song. I hate that song. Okay.
Brian, would you let's try to fix something here? Okay, let's so even words you can understand.
I did reboot, Anthony. I did reboot. Okay.
And then I rebooted.
Oh, and here's what Gary said was interesting. He said, "Go for it." Dave repeats himself anyway.
You know what? Gary is a talented individual. I will accept Gary's critiques anytime. Unlike some people who we won't name, I believe that he's professional. Unlike
You
some
just
people-
cut him off on the phone. Jesus Christ.
I didn't cut him off. You did something. I don't know. It went dead. All right. So
This was the best drink I have ever made, and it was just
I
wonderful.
don't believe that you're drinking on the job. Yeah. That's what it is. You're slosh.
Yeah. No.
That's what it is. You're terrible. I hope you weren't planning any kind of career in any form.
Now, why would that? Is there some kind of electrical pop? What would cause an electrical pop, aside from a bad mic?
There is a storm swirling around here, but that's not.
Well, we got something on here a little bit, but it should not happen.
I know.
Joey's sending a message right now, and I'm trying to figure out. So, Joey Folcher's down the shore, folks. He does this time every year. Let's see what he says. I'm sitting with Mike and watching my mom watching you, and Mike and my mom watching. That's good, Joey. That's good. Joey, I hope you have a great time down there. I'm sure Dave says the same. And I hope your parents and your mom and your brother and everybody there has a good time too. Hope you're not bothering them too much. Getting any dancing in? No. Joey, I hope you have a great time down there.
Do you have any idea how pathetic you are? Seriously.
Leave Joey alone.
That's not Joey.
Okay.
Do you realize that every single person whose name you use tonight, mine, Joey's, Barry's, Anthony's, Lama's, every time you mention a name, it keeps you keep dropping on the list because you don't have a clue doing. Do you want me to take over the show? I mean, I do it. I have the cam. I can.
This is a technical glitch that we cannot get out of. You know, I mean, I've given you the link. Everything is set there. Now, you do have a Mac. Do you have a Mac in your apartment?
I'm using a Mac. Yes.
Yeah, hold it. I'm saying an actual desktop Mac. That's what I really mean.
No.
Does Judy have a Mac?
It wouldn't make a difference, Brian.
I don't know. I think we should give it a shot.
I'm not going to do that.
Because you're going to get yelled at, right?
Yeah, right. I'm not stupid. It's her Mac. I'm ladies and gentlemen, let me be sure that we are going to do a show real. Brian, yeah, I don't want it's always weenie, but we'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I have no problem. But we have to figure out, Dave, you and I.
Yeah, we're going to work on it tomorrow because we're not going to fix it tonight. And there's no sense doing a show since it's 9:52. I mean, we're going to talk for 8 more minutes and humor the people. I can tell them stories about let's see, what kind of no, that can't story.
Tell the story about that kid who farted in the auxiliary gym in Bridge.
I don't want to tell that one. That's embarrassing him.
It wasn't you though that did it.
Oh no, I said to him. You don't even understand the English language.
Were you one of the many who ran out of the gym at the time?
No, I stayed there. I said it was.
That sounded like something of the sort of an Andre the Giant situation, you know.
Yeah, it could probably be. I suppose there's some circumstances. I just find it fascinating, Brian, fascinating psychology. After all I've said to you, that's what sticks in your mind. And you're allowed to have a show.
Look, we're just blowing some time here until the important show goes tomorrow. I still think it's your microphone. There's something wrong with your microphone.
You know what? I'm not.
And you know what? I'm going to be frank with you. I did have a problem with this mic. I had to have it sent back. Did you drop the Yeti mic?
Hold on. Let me try something here.
Because
I didn't.
They're very heavy.
All right. Is it any better now?
Hold on. Keep talking. I can't tell unless you keep talking. Because honestly, I have to keep.
Well, is it any better now?
Perfect
no,
now.
It's not.
No, it is now. I'm not kidding. No. It's better.
No, it's.
No, hold on. No. I'm serious. There's no pop to what you just did. Everything was fine. Now, it might have been out of sync for a little bit, but it was, what did you do, Dave? Honestly, what did you do?
I'm not telling you because then you'll.
Well, it was fine. Whatever you and everybody there can verify. Everybody out there. Now, he may not be in sync with his lips, but the audio was fine.
Well, I want to see that on the screen because I'm fixing stuff on my end that you broke.
Now you're popping again. You were just fine.
All right, hold on. I'm going to switch completely out of that. I'm going to switch over here. I'm going to go old school. Now, is it fine now?
It's absolutely fine now. You did it, fella.
So you're telling me I took over your computer remotely, and I was able to fix it in Arlington. You know what I mean? All right. Would you ask somebody?
See,
Okay.
folks, hang on.
Somebody-
I am, this is hilarious. We have 3 people watching us, and I think one of them is my stream from my phone. Dave, you screwed up. I want you to call everybody up and tell them what you did.
Brian, I didn't screw up. What happened
Hell
was...
yeah, perfect. Anthony, thank you, Anthony.
No, listen, Anthony. Here's what I did. I'm able to bypass and go directly into Brian's system, and I reset a couple things. Yeah. And that's what I did. I'm just a much better. You know what you are. You're a terrible troubleshooter.
Now you're even in sync, which is wonderful.
Well, so's your great grandmother.
Oh my God! Everything works perfectly now. No Sunday show here. We're going on. Everybody, call each other up all across the country. Jesus.
Now, yes. All right, hold on. Let me try
And
something
Joey,
else.
I'm glad. Now, Joey, even though we only have 4 people watching, never yet, Joey's got some of his family watching, so we appreciate that. So there's really multiple people watching.
No,
and Joey, we give you credit because you're on vacation, but that's quite dedicated of you to watch the show.
Well, let's do a mini show. All right. So we're going to do a mini show tonight.
All right,
Nothing we're going to give away. No biggies. So let me think of a question. Anthony, if you're still there, would you just say yes? I mean, just type it in message because I'm going to start with Anthony.
Anthony, give him the yes. And Anthony, of course, everybody should know, is from Texas, where a lot of the problems are occurring in this country right now. It's like all
Well, no,
centered
a lot of the problems are occurring right now on the Sunset Lake neighborhood of Bridgeton, New Jersey, because that's where you are.
Sure, I was the one that was drinking tonight.
That's disgusting.
I know
It's
you don't
disgusting.
drink, but I'm just saying this is very peculiar.
No, with Anthony leave, he doesn't like
I'm
you.
glad Dave didn't do his own show tonight. Here we go. Here we go. There's your answer from Texas.
All right.
Dallas,
All right.
right, Anthony?
Okay, Anthony and Joey, I know you're there. You can type in. And
He's
if
typing
anybody-
through Messenger, so I know that he's getting.
No, I'm just saying. Anybody? Now we're just going to get serious. Prior to the show, before Mr. Fuckknuckle here started breaking everything, I was talking to my son, in Australia, and he and I got into a half-hour debate over this question. It's really 2 full questions. So if somebody, you're going to help decide who's right and who's wrong. And it was funny because at the end he says, "You're not going to listen to me." I said, "Well, no, no, it wasn't that." So the question really, it evolved this way. And Brian, I want to know your thoughts too. So I really phrased it in the form of 2 questions because we kind of went in 2 different but related directions with this. One is America more divided today than it's ever been? Question 1. And then second, is it more polarized today than it's ever been? So again, related but somewhat different. Is America more divided today? And is it more polarized? Brian, you get first shot at it while
Okay.
Anthony's going to type in and Joey's going to type in, or Gary's going to type in. How do you or anyone out there respond to that?
At this
What's-
moment in time, and that's a great question, even though these things have kind of come up before, but it's the kind of question you normally wouldn't have to ask because we were always kind of deciding, was the Civil War worse than now, blah blah blah.
Right.
2 things I want to say. One, I think that it's obviously, since we have never lived during the Civil War, we understand from reading history just how torn apart this country was. We know what happened in the 1960s. We know the whole story. But Dave, you and I are we're not very far apart in terms of age. we've generally been around.
way apart in terms of computer ability. But go ahead.
Well, I'll agree with you on that. Okay, so
Yeah, I know I'm better. Go ahead.
okay. So the thing is, in our lifetime, you and I both can definitely say, at least I know about. No,
Why do you always think what? Just answer
I'm
for
going to
yourself.
answer for. I'll okay. I'll
You want me to come? Do you want
in my
Yes, you want me-
in my lifetime. In my lifetime, this by far, from my perspective, is the worst that I've seen. Now, I'm going to throw that out for a second, and I want to go. I'm not going to go to Facebook, but I saw one of our people had posted something about Republicans and how they're against this, and I agree with everything. They're against climate change. They're, these pro-lifers. They're for restricting voting laws, all that kind of stuff. And somebody we know, I'm not going to go into the names in it, posted, somebody not on this show, or even related to the show, but someone we know posted something calling the guy, you're an ass for saying that. And this person's a Republican. And this is a person that normally wouldn't outright say something like that. But this first time she had done that and did it publicly. And when I see that somebody like that who is on the other side, and I'll tell you who it is later, Dave, personally, when we get into, and you may not know, but for her to go that far, and she's on the other side again, that to me, from an anecdotal perspective, is a clear example that this is the worst, at least that I've seen.
All right, Brian. Let me. I'm not picking apart your argument. I'm just gonna. I always play devil's advocate, so I'm doing that now. Anthony, finally, somebody makes sense. I'm gonna leave that up there. Do not take it off, just in case there's blind people watching the show. I think that's really something important, Anthony. I think we are being made more aware of it. Now, that's kind of was my argument with my son, and of course he is. He's actually has studies going on this. So, I was more or less playing somewhat devil's advocate. But here's my thinking on it, and I'm trying to figure out if I'm right because I'm not sure yet. Okay, so I'm going to use a series of questions, which I always do, Brian, and you're representing everybody. Do you think there is such a thing as human nature? That humans basically have a given certain set of circumstances, they may react the same way.
In certain circumstances, yes.
Yeah, we hear that. I just remember in college we got into these great debates over human nature being what it is, and we had a professor. There is no such thing as human nature. Each person is unique and individual. I think there's something human. I think there are certain characteristics that are human. The simplest is, stick a knife in someone, they bleed, right? That there's nobody who's ever, been able to.
Dave, this runs into that whole thing. Is we've had this discussion. And you essentially, I would say 99.9% agree, and literally 99.9% agree with me about determinism. So there's something called human nature, but this determinism.
I got that. Yeah, and but here's what I want to say about that. So if there is such a thing, would you say there's always been divisions between people?
Absolutely, always been
correct.
Divisions. Yes.
Now some things exacerbate them. But there's always been. Okay. More divided today. Okay, Gary, in the last century. Now, thanks, Gary, for that. Now, here's what I'm trying to struggle with in my own mind. I'm not sure. Okay. Now, Brian, you touched upon something. I will say this. I've lived through the Vietnam, that period up until Donald Trump, who's not the cause, but the catalyst. I think clearly 68 to 74 was the most divisive period that I had lived through. Now, because of the things that I do here in D.C., I've spent a lot of time, and will spend a lot more time prior to October, spending a lot of time in the 50s, which is before my time. I was born in 52. I think Anthony, again, I think that's kind of where I'm going to go in a minute. I just have to go there slowly for myself. So yes, I agree that in my lifetime, Brian, I agree 100% with what you said. Okay, in my lifetime. My concern is that I haven't had any other lifetime. You mentioned the Civil War. I wasn't alive then, right? I mean, we weren't. So we know what historians tell us. I've never talked to a Civil War veteran, or a person who lived in that age. So I'm really relying on history books. What I'm wondering, and Anthony really touched upon that, my question is this, or my question about the question is this. Is it truly that we're more divided today, or are we just more aware of the division? For example, the Scopes monkey trial, you're familiar with that, right? Mm-hmm. Evolution. That, if you go back and study that, the country was pretty damn divided, and it was pretty much divided politically over those who sided with the lawyer, Clarence Darrow, and those that sided with the populist lawyer candidate, William Jennings Bryan. We know about the Civil War. We know about the revolution. It's pretty much a third and a third and a third the way it is now. A third one to stay with England, a third one to rebel, a third said just leave us alone. But there was no social media. And I would say this, I'm a print guy. I will always be a print guy. But I do believe that television news has the biggest impact on people because it has the factor. What hinders the print? Print can't be immediate, right? It just can't be. All right, it can't be.
Can't.
So that you're going to have, tomorrow on this great show we're going to do. I want to talk about some of there's 3 new books coming out next week on Trump, and I want to talk about them a little bit and what we hold. So that's kind of a precursor to what we're going to do tomorrow. Now, the next thing is what we have is then we get radio. Now, radio, immediate, right? I mean, if you're near a radio, you can get it, but you don't see, right? Now, television comes along and you see, and it is pretty much determined. A good writer appeals to the 5 senses. If you really like, this is more works of fiction, but it can be nonfiction too. I used to tell my students, and I think it's still true, if as a writer, if you can make people see it, smell it, hear it, taste it, and touch it, that's what good writing is, right? And television is able to do that much easier because you see it, you hear it, taste and touch are still out of you can't do, but you can see other people taste it and touch it and see them and the human reaction. Then we add the 4th era, I think. And of course, I didn't mention telegraph and some other things that were a minor part of it, or maybe major, but short-lived. And now we have the internet, which is 24-hour access to everything. The cable news started it with the 24/7, but none of us are near a television 24/7. I mean, unless you're homebound, right, or ridden.
Right.
You actually addressed something that was very powerful that I hadn't thought about when I was struggling with this idea of why the Minneapolis police murder of George Floyd had such an impact. And you said, well, Dave, that's simple. Everybody's home and watching it, sheer numbers. And I think that kind of applies to this internet. So, for example, here's my example, or an example of what I'm saying. You now know you have the ability to know what every person in America is thinking in real time. You realize that, right?
Yes.
Historically, we've never had that, ever. So does that mean that are we more polarized now? Or are we more aware of the polarization? Are we more divided now? Or are we more aware of the divisions? Or is this, which some have said, which I find interesting, I don't know that I agree with it yet, that as we became, which is interesting, as we became more secular as a nation, which sometimes, you struggle, well, what about, no, actually, we're much more secular now than we've been, at least as people report it, right? Do you realize, what was it, 3 years ago, maybe 4, that none or non became bigger than I believe in God in terms of surveys, or I'm not sure, agnostic atheists, atheism in practical terms. But I do think there's something to be said about this. As we moved away from the church, that politics kind of, or partisan politics, if you will, became our religion. Now let's look at that, right? Look at all the moral issues that are wrapped up today in politics, right? Abortion, reaching out to poor. I mean, just about everything's become that. So, is that make it seem more? Um, is it today that there's more people involved in the process? In 1865, the division, yes, mothers suffered. I mean, women couldn't vote, blacks couldn't vote. Were they less involved in the political process and therefore didn't feel the division so much? Uh, and Anthony, you're absolutely right. In fact, I'm just going to make a quick aside here, which I think is very important, though. Uh, Prior to World War II, basically, or really the advent kind of the business tycoon who could own a newspaper or found out you could make money off of it. Almost all papers were either conservative or Democrat. Conservative or liberal, depending on which party it was. I'm not going to play that Republican game. Yes, once the Republican Party was the liberal party, and once the Democrats were the conservative party. But the idea of it is papers were either liberal or conservative. Every little town had two, usually, sometimes more. But again, it was confined. I mean, all right. So today, Brian, what's the furthest person you've been in contact with from where you're geographically located right now? Would it be Anthony or somebody beyond Anthony in terms of distance?
During the week?
Today, just today.
For today, distance-wise,
Yeah.
I would say it was Anthony. Yeah.
All right. And mine would be my son in Australia, right? 30 years ago or 250 years ago, working all the way up to 20 years ago. Would you have had that kind of contact? And you wouldn't, right?
No.
So that's what I'm wondering. I mean, and I don't know honestly how important it is, and that's how I kind of summed it up with my son when we got done discussing. It was a wonderful discussion, and of course, we're both good at playing devil's advocate, and we're both good. I think I got him more today because I just kept dazzling him about his position. Okay, color differential, changing in fear, even subconsciously, of climate. Life-threatening possibilities add to the anxiety quotient. What the hell, screw it all attitude evolving.
Yes.
Gary, Gary, I think you're absolutely right on that. I mean, there's no question about that. So,
and even the people, the
So
ones
if
who are
I'm gonna
denying it are doing that.
well, see what I want. Yes, what I wonder is, okay, would you agree with this, Brian? People have done some crazy things because of religion.
Just by definition, itself is being crazy.
I'm just saying crazy thing. I mean, you just look at it. Well, wait a minute.
I think one of the craziest things that religion does, like any one particular religion, is looking at another religion and saying, "Well, that's just myth." Like
Well, that's what it all. That's what I mean.
or whatever, and as if somehow theirs is correct, compared to that's crazy. Mine's okay because we only believe.
And I think, and because you and I share some really closeness about, I think the difference. Well, I shouldn't say the difference. I mean, I clearly can state my position. I am opposed to all organized religion for me. Okay, I do not believe that organized religion as such will lead you to the truth. I believe that a person leads themselves individually to whatever truth they find. But that doesn't seem. I seem to be in the minority of that. And now, what I find really interesting is I don't find science debatable. I mean, when science establishes something, it's established. It is. Try to defy gravity, and you can't. You can't. All right. I mean, as a human being. So what I find is so interesting now. It used to be a God. Go to the Scopes monkey trial. God, Darwinism, if you will, or evolution. Right. Today, God isn't really in the equation that much. It's politics, right? Conservatives, liberals.
Right.
So, I think, but here's the last word I had to Michael, and I think I would do it to everybody. I'm not so sure. This is like one of those debates about God, or these things we really can't answer. I mean, we weren't alive then. The big question is, it's bad now. What do we do about it? That's really where we have to come from. And it's neat to say it's worse. It possibly could be. It's okay to say it is not worse, but that really, no matter how you get in the world of opinion. What we do know is it's bad today. And I think that's universal for everybody, all three groups, the Republican, the conservatives, and Leave Me Alone group. Nobody seems to think we're doing real well, right?
And isn't it interesting, Dave? Back in the 1950s and 1960s, the Soviet Union, it was their intention to try to figure out what would most divide this country, and they tried to look at the racism thing. They even the thing between the worker and the corporations. But where they finally had something that would stick became something that was kind of simple in a way, because it was the two political parties, but because the Republican Party had changed so much, they could see, hey, we've got something here. And by the way, this is something I had actually told some Soviets back in I'm not saying that I caused the entire problem here, but I said the biggest problem we have between the parties, and it was that, because I smelled this long ago. You didn't really have to be that politically savvy to see the way things were turning out. Especially with Reagan, because Reagan, it was like a revolution. Yes. Like the Democrats were all, it's like when he said with Carter, he said, "There you go again," and one little line was just,
and now
like manna from heaven.
Right. And so again, was that Ronald Reagan setting an agenda, or was it Ronald Reagan, the actor, using the soundbite so effectively? Yes. Rare medium, you're absolutely right. And on my brightest day, whatever that was, I'm not one millionth as bright as Joseph Campbell.
I used to follow all those videos with Campbell back in the 80s. That was my
Moyer, when Bill Moyers, who's my idea of a great questioning journalist, he just, I don't know. Well, that's an interesting thing. Could you ever nail down what Bill Moyers really thought?
Well, I'll say I actually had videotapes from a friend. It wasn't even Bill Moyers' interviews with
Campbell.
Joseph Campbell. It was just Campbell had this series.
Literally
just over. There were just hours and hours of them that were just fantastic.
Well, he was definitely, it's an overused term.
Yeah, he figured it out pretty quickly what was really going on there.
Yeah. Now,
although right now, even to this day, most people don't get that.
And you know what? And Gary, makes a good point there. What I'm thinking too along those lines are, okay. Are there groups, I'm not in one of them, are there groups, religious groups, that are not just content for the end of times, but actively trying to bring it on?
Sure.
So, by saying, how do you say when your house is burning that there's no fire? Our earth is burning, right? Now, I suppose you could say one of two things if you wanted to. One, you could say, well, it's God's will. Okay, fine. I disagree, but that's it. Or you could say, well, it's happened before. No, it hasn't. Okay. And that's my problem, as I say. And it's related to climate. It's related to politics. It's related to the whole thing. Now, we've had tons of discussions on this show about, is Joe Biden a better person than Donald Trump? And I think there's only one answer to that. The answer is yes. Then you get into the next level. Are the Democrats inherently better than the Republicans? And I would say yes, in terms of today, as the Republicans are today. But then you get into, but aren't they both somewhat entrenched in keeping their power? And that's where we fall down. Division of church and state is not the case these days, as Trump uses Christianity as a way to motivate radical evangelical groups that actually support his propaganda. Trump manipulates things. Anthony, I still go back and forth. I wish I could get a handle on that. Again, it's one of those things that's not important. Sometimes I'll change 5 or 6 times a day. Donald Trump is terminally dumb and stupid, or Donald Trump is brilliant. And I don't think I can say he's brilliant, but what I will say is, Just like I've said before about the two parties, Brian, I think the Republican Party has it easiest. All they have to appeal to are white men. Interesting enough, they've got rich.
Let me ask you this, Dave.
Sure.
Let's just assume that Trump is stupid, and I think he is generally. He's not.
I'm
that
not
smart.
so sure. I'm
Okay,
not so sure about
I'm
that.
saying, do you have to be smart
No.
to be able to influence stupid people? Can't a stupid
No.
man have the basic fundamental
There's
knowledge of how to influence people?
Now, I think you're really onto something there, especially this. Now, there's always been in America, more so in America than in Europe. We can't really speak of Asia, the Eastern world. We're talking about the Western world. There's always been a strong strain of anti-intellectualism because with anti-intellectualism becomes the idea they're just thinkers. What's the thing? Those who can do and those who can't teach, and that's kind of embedded in that. And we've always had that. So
that's like saying if the glove doesn't fit, you can't convict. I mean, it's just.
Well, that was close, Brian, but no. But here's my point. I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to say it may be easier for a dumb person to influence the masses more so than a very smart person, because automatically, Trump was fascinating to me in this respect. He had everything that the elites have, right? But he spoke like a fourth grader. Well,
That's how you win West Virginia, right?
That appeals to a lot of people, right? Think about it. I can do what he does, right? People are saying, he speaks for me. He tells it like it is. And what I find interesting, and I want to deal with that tomorrow, is why not. I'm not talking about his following. And we all know that his following is big, et cetera, et cetera. But when you link yourself to Trump, which the Republican Party has, you're going to rise and fall with Donald Trump. There you are.
Yeah.
No, a great rare. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I even say, now, kind of tangentially here, don't ask me why this bothered me so much today, but it did. The Kardashians are famous for being famous, right? I mean, they haven't done anything. They've made no contribution to society whatsoever that I can see. If it was so tangential. It doesn't mean anything. One of them, I don't even know them by name, but one of the Kardashians, I clicked on something today for him, and they had 16 pictures of her in different bikinis. Now, I like good-looking girls in bikinis as well as the next person, but I looked at the number of hits that it had versus any political story, and it was 5 times to 10 times more. So are we just, are we just superficial, because we allow ourselves to be led by someone who's dumb and not smart? Have we evolved past the point that, we care more about looking at one of the Kardashians' famous butts than we do spending the time to try to figure out what to do about our Earth is burning? I don't know. But I'll come back to the question one more time. I just think it's something to ponder. Is America more divided today? I'm not sure. I have my feelings, but really it comes down to my opinions. And most of our, and then Michael started, which I thought was really great. He cited study after study, some of which he's been involved in. And I said, Michael, all that's true. But did they have studies like this in the 1700s, in the 1800s, in the early 1900s? I'm not saying they weren't accurate. Maybe they were more accurate than our polls are today. But I mean, everything's changed so much, and that it's more polarized. I think definitely we know it more. We're more aware of it, but all of that is meaningless, right? It's what are we going to do about it? So let me ask you this question. If tomorrow, I always used to do this, very unfair, but never stopped me from doing it. If tomorrow you could issue one edict that had to be followed, and anybody else, please respond to this on the screen, an edict that had to be followed, and what your job was to give one thing that could lessen this division and polarization in the country. And I won't even put any, it doesn't even have to be that realistic. And the only one I will take off the table, because it is a solution, but I'm not sure it's viable, because it could easily be turned the other way, is to kill all those who are opposed to whatever you view, whether you're conservative or liberal. So something saying, you're going to have both in the world. What would you do, Brian? And don't worry about the world, just America.
Right.
Do you have
Well,
any idea?
if you're going to put in some type of edict, that automatically is going to create some type of response from these lunatics, which
Correct.
means it's going to go to the next level. So I think that we're this is so bad after you saw what happened January 6th and what's happening now. I would say, if I were using my passions, my knee-jerk reactions, it would be the kind of things that I think when I see January 6th and I say, okay, we're going to let the military take over and we're going to start arresting these people like Jim Jordan. Just start arresting people and put the fear of the government against them. You've got to have you have to have some, I don't want to say a Stalin, but you've got to, whatever the edict is, it has to put fear in those leaders and the people to some degree. And I think that it would kind of work its way down. So what I would start doing is I would say, okay, look, we've got some nonsense here. We're going to start arresting any government official that's going to put any kind of bullshit out there about, like the charge with Giuliani. So, for example, you would immediately arrest Rudy Giuliani. You'd arrest Trump. You'd arrest any of these Republicans who didn't support the impeachment because of January the 6th. I would start throwing these people in prisons, and I would also do it in such a way that anybody who it entered their mind to try something again, that this is going to turn out like Waco, and like Millie said, we're the ones with the guns, so you want to try it. You may be the guy with the Ford F-150 and you've got guns in your house and you can intimidate your neighbors, but let's see you do that when the Marines come. And that's you've allowed me to do this. I'm saying you're not going to shoot and kill them, but I think at some point we're at the point where you have to. I think if Lincoln had the power to do that, it would have saved us a lot in terms of the Civil War. So I think that's what you have to do if you're going to allow me to do that one thing. I will not go, Machiavellian and say, okay, man, you got to just start chopping their heads off. No. And you wouldn't have to do it to too many of them. I think you start, you show the optics, of them being arrested, and you put them away, and you say there'll be no toleration for this. And this is why in countries like Japan you don't see much crime. And you might say, well, how are they able to do this? It's because they will not tolerate it. And the Republicans have to understand if they think if they think that force is the way to go in some way, then we ought to use the very thing that they would like to use themselves. And then they start getting the picture, I think that's what I would do.
All right. All you laid out is very logical. So let's go to the next response. Then why aren't we doing that?
This is my problem with the Democratic Party, and they have to be careful. But it's all, Dave, how you view what the Republicans have done, are willing to do, and you see what's going on in the courts to some degree, especially like the Supreme Court. I think that what seems so implausible, like, for example, I've been talking coup for 4 years. You go back to my other channel with iGeneralist, you're going to see my videos say this is a coup, and people they say, because they like me, they'll say, it's an interesting video, who knows, but I know that they really didn't believe that. Okay, now you were one who actually took me seriously, and you started bending very quickly because you started smelling, what was going on.
Well, see, and I'm not going to defend. I think the only way
you just thought that it was going to take care of itself a little sooner through the courts.
No. Well, not about that. What I'm saying is, I think there are two. What should I say? Two levels of coup. I think a coup, to me, to be a coup, must have some chance of being successful.
Absolutely. It has to be successful.
And I still am not sure. Um, that was just the most pathetic Keystone Cop takeover of American government I've ever seen. Now, were we milliseconds away from it being worse? Yeah. I mean, so again, we're
Right. Now, what would have happened, Dave? I mean, think about it. If
well, you know what?
they
You know what's
got through.
crazy? You know what's crazy? Oh, man, I really don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it.
Makes
Okay.
more interest in the show.
No. Okay. We'd have a better picture of how far people would go. We'd have a better picture of how far people would go if Mr. Pence had lost his life in that coup.
Right.
Now, why do
And
I
of
say
course, Trump
Pence?
would have said, I had nothing to do with this.
Well, I'm not saying, but I mean, what I'm saying is we did lose lives in that. And they made about as much difference to the two sides as did the pro and anti-gun movement when those little kids in Sandy Hook were killed, right?
Right.
There's no difference. I mean, nobody moved position.
Right, they didn't give a damn. They're not going to give a damn about a 5 and a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Why would
But,
they care
but
about
my question would be, if the vice president of the United States were captured and executed, where would we be now? And again, it's like saying if Kennedy had lived, if this had happened. I mean, I know that, but I mean, I really, and unless somebody can prove to me otherwise, I think that was a poorly organized, pathetically raised coup that could have been far worse. Don't get me wrong. Now, I'm not a big fan of John Bolton. His mustache bothers me.
But it really couldn't have been more organized, because then they'd been more tipped off. So they had to make it this like loose association.
I don't know if they could have. I mean, everybody knew, as we find out now. I mean, so there were all kinds of tip-offs.
And it didn't even have to be that strong, Dave, because Trump sat back. He waited. He's hoping in those 3 hours that the damage would be done. He wanted them to get in there and take some heads.
But they didn't. Okay, if what they wanted to accomplish, there were three things.
Unless you're Brian Sicknick. Yeah.
I didn't say that. Mm-hmm. There were three things that they might have wanted to accomplish based on their own admissions. One was to overthrow the government. They did not.
Intimidate also.
They didn't say they wanted to overthrow, Brian. There's a difference. Number two, they have said that they wanted to stop they wanted to stop the vote that night, right? I mean, that was what they wanted to do. So
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second on this.
Sure, of course.
And we'll get back to exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
But I want to ask you just honestly. I mean, I want to be completely honest.
I'll try.
What do you think would have happened if they grabbed Nancy Pelosi? What do you think? What would it look like 15, 30 minutes later? Being completely honest, there's
Okay. What I think would have to have happened is you would have seen in real time whether we have an America or whether we don't. And what I mean by that is I chose Pence, deliberately staying away from Pelosi, because I think the reason I chose Pence was that's your own guy, right? I mean, that's your own guy.
And that's why I left Pence out of it. I left Pence out. That's why I said Pelosi.
But to me, that's more interesting. Now, Pelosi, you would have to decide. Can a mob come into the Capitol, which I thought would be much more difficult than it was, but it wasn't. And then can a mob kill the Speaker of the House and get away with impunity? Now, we don't know yet, Brian. We don't know yet if these people have gotten away with impunity, right? There's 508, 506, I don't know, 600 now. I think it's almost up to 600 people have been arrested. I think there's only been 2 cases adjudicated of all of those. Justice moves slowly. Well, I shouldn't say justice.
I don't know if you guys and gals are still there, but apparently some Trumpers just broke into Dave's apartment and yeah, not great. So anyway, yeah, Anthony, what's going to happen is this: we're going to probably go on at 7 o'clock or 7:30 tomorrow night. We got bounced. I don't know what happened. The internet went out for about 30 seconds, and Dave has had storms in his area. We have storms in our area, so it just doesn't look good tonight. And tonight was kind of a weird night anyway. But we're planning on going on tomorrow. We actually had some topics that we were going to speak about, which we did not do at all tonight. So if you guys are into it, we'll be on tomorrow night. I'll post something, and we'll see what happens. But Dave called me up just 2 minutes ago and said, "Look, tell everybody that I've been abducted by Trumpers," which of course is joking. Although I imagine if the times get worse, it could happen to either one of us. But he said that, look, let's just, if you have no problem with this, let's just go on tomorrow at 7 or 7:30. So I think that's what we'll do. We'll try to go on, and we'll probably take another direction, and that will take care of itself tomorrow night. Yeah, and that's it. And I think whatever setting Dave had on his computer later, it kind of ironed itself out. We got something in. But believe me, I would tell you if we weren't going on, and if we don't go on time and we're 15 minutes late, it means we're having these issues which keep coming up. And I don't know what the hell's going on with that. But I think it has to do, most of the time, it's actually, not to blame Dave, but it's usually the settings. The settings cause a problem. Abducted by Chinese nationals, yeah. So, yeah. I was busy with my other channel this week, and I didn't intend on that one being that busy, because that one has a lot more people involved. It's not about politics, so it's just crazy week. So going on tomorrow is going to be kind of interesting, because I've been actually doing videos going on. This whole week's been kind of nuts with that, but this is the one I kind of really enjoy. So anyway, I'll see everybody tomorrow night, hopefully between 7 and 7:30. If there is any problem, we'll get back to you through the Facebook page. And, yeah, there's no sense staying on here, so we'll have some problems. All right, see you guys tomorrow night. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you for showing up and all the great comments. Great commentary, everybody. So, Anthony, Gary, Rare Medium. I guess that was it. Yeah. Well, we'll get it together tomorrow. So have a great night, everybody. Appreciate it.